Like, what do you do with Calcaterra? He can't get on the field. He looked great when he was on the field, which was like a practice and a half or two. I don't even remember. It's been so long.
Well, I'll make sorry to interrupt, John. I'll make a Calcaterra prediction right now. You're not going to see him. You got your Mega Mac guys, John McMullen and Jody McDonald here with you on Bird 365. Thank Eddie Kratz for jumping in live from Berea, Ohio, where he was in attendance.
Middleburg Heights right now. Middleburg Heights, Ohio. Off to Berea.
You know, I've only been to Cleveland like twice in my life. So I don't know the town all that well. Don't know the ins, the outs, the neighborhoods, the suburbs, and the like. I got no bloody idea where Middleburg Heights is. I don't know where Bray is.
Yeah, unfortunately, I've been there too much. It's right near the airport. That's why. It's one of those things. It's always interesting. Like when you go to Las Vegas, for instance, you're not in Las Vegas. You're in Paradise, Nevada. It's always and then by the airport in Detroit, it's Romulus. It's Romulus.
Yeah, see, that I've heard of.
It's always interesting. Yeah, but Middleburg Heights is right near the airports. I thought it was Cleveland, but it's Middleburg Heights, Cleveland Heights. But anyway, yeah, a lot of useless knowledge, Jody.
Yeah, I don't have it for Cleveland. I've only been there a couple of times. Don't know the lay of the land, so to speak. Do want to ask you about this. Eagles on the defensive line. Yesterday we had some fun kind of doing the preview stuff of the 53-man roster. Now, we've got a couple of weeks before they've got to cut down. We've got another joint practice and an exhibition game against the Browns, 2 joint practices, and then an exhibition game between the Dolphins before they really have to get to work and get down to 53. At least on a couple of the reports that I saw, Marlon T looked good yesterday, played well. And he was a guy that I thought sat directly on the bubble for the Eagles this year.
Yeah.
How many defensive tackles are they going to keep? You know, that Jordan Davis is taking one of the spots that the guys had last year. And Milton Williams is a guy that I think they want to work into the mix. And Marlon T seemed like a guy who might be on the outside looking in, but he had a good day yesterday. How many spots can they dedicate to defensive tackle with their 53-man job?
Well, I think one of the positives is they consider somebody like Milton and Brandon Graham as well as a guy who can move inside and outside. So you have some versatility, but they're really deep on the defensive line. They talk about Marvin Wilson a lot too.
Big Marv, right? That's his name, his nickname.
Marlon, yeah, at the beginning of camp, I don't know anybody who thought Marlon was going to make this team, and now everybody thinks he's going to make this team. He's had a really good summer, and yeah, they have tremendous depth on the defensive line. That's why I think at the initial 53, and I always call it the initial 53 because there's a lot of movement after you get to that 53.
Correct.
I think it's going to be very heavy on the defensive line. Very heavy on the offensive line for obvious reasons. That's their strength and their strengths. And they don't have strengths at other positions. So they don't have a third-team quarterback. Reed Sinnott is, doesn't deserve to make this team. Carson Strong doesn't deserve to make this team. And you can get either of them to the practice squad. Nobody's picking them up. Running back, they only have 3 right now, unless they make a trade for Kareem Hunt. So Jason Huntley, not going to make this team. Kennedy Brooks, not going to make this team. You can get him to the practice squad if you need him. And they can go light at that initial cut and then sort of do the maneuvering when it's a little bit easier if you make trades or do something of that nature. But defensive line, offensive line, very, very deep. And they may have been, as we talk about receiver, Jody, and it may keep 5 receivers. We're saying, who's going to be the 6th receiver? Who's going to be the 6th receiver? Well, if you need the spot for Marlon and it's Greg Ward or Marlon and Greg's not going to play and you got the younger guy who might develop down the road, these are the the decisions you sort of have to juggle with.
Right, and that'll test your mettle when you hand in your Eagles 53-man roster for the contest this year. I think they've got a debatable roster, and we've got still 2 weeks to go, as I just pointed out. And yeah, I do think there's a recency bias when you're putting together a roster. And this isn't a critique or criticism of Howie Roseman. It's 32 out of 32 teams in the National Football League. They've had these guys, some of them for years, certainly all of them for the entire camp. People seem to remember what they saw last. And if any of these guys really flash in these joint practices in the short time they'll have to play in the preseason game, it could be the difference between making a team and not making a team.
Well, to me, the most interesting conversation, we kind of touched on it with Ed, is Calcaterra. Like, what do you do with Calcaterra? He can't get on the field. He looked great when he was on the field, which was like a practice and a half or two. I don't even remember. It's been so long.
I'll make sorry to interrupt, John. I'll make a Calcaterra prediction right now. You're not going to see him. He is not going to play. He's not going to play in the joint practices. He's not going to play in either of the two games, and the Eagles are going to cut him, and they're going to try and get him through to the practice squad. I don't think they want to play him, because if they do, he could flash, and somebody might actually claim him. If he misses basically the entire preseason, how many practices did he get in before he got hurt?
Two, maybe. Two
practices.
And a half.
And I know he's a 6th round pick, so everybody pats on him a bunch of times. Maybe somebody had him in the 6th round and they've got tight end issues. You need to do your research on all that. But I think they're going to completely take a pass on Calcaterra and believe that no one will claim him if he doesn't practice for the last month and change going up to the regular season, and that they'll get him through and be able to put him on the practice squad.
It's possible, but what complicates things for me is they need a backup tight end, right? And if they think he can play, and they seem to think he could play, they need a backup tight end. And you also have and again, you have this, and to a much lesser extent, you have the same thing with Nakobe Dean. You have this constant narrative with Grant Calcaterra that he's not really a 6th round pick. Well, he is. He got drafted in the 6th round, but he's a, day 2 talent. If he didn't have the concussion issues, and he played at Oklahoma and he was great at Oklahoma and this and that, you have all these, the far biggest one is they need a tight end. They need an actual tight end. So if they believe this nonsense, I'd call it, he is what he is. He's a 6th round pick. But if they believe it, that he's better than a 6th round pick, and they seemed to be counting on that early in camp, they might say, you know what? That's why I've been saying it for weeks. It's Noah Tungiai is interesting to me because they've already cut him. They think he's limited from a ceiling, but from a meritocracy standpoint, he should make this team now, unless he craps the bed over the next 3 practices, and that could happen. It's not over, but right now, as we speak today, if today was the cutdown day and it was a pure meritocracy, he would make this team. But it's not a pure meritocracy. You're looking at the future. You're looking at what you evaluate the players are, and they seem to have evaluated Grant Calcaterra very highly. And I go back to that. That's the foundation of it all. They need a stinking backup tight end. Period.
Here's why I wouldn't sweat that, John. Let's say he's close, that he's days away from being able to play, and they go down the route of, well, we're going to give him extra time. We want to be precautionary with him. But they know they could get him out there. But they want to be able to get him through to the practice. They need a backup tight end for week 1 against the Lions.
Yeah.
You just run your backup tight end out there, your blocking tight end out there. You're going to roll the Lions anyway. And then you get another full week of practice. Once you get through the preseason action, no one else is getting tape on him. You've got your eyes. You've got your own coaches that are watching him in practice going, yeah, he's as good as we thought. We got to steal in the 6th round. He's going to be eventually going to be our backup tight end. week 2, week 3, week 4. At some point, you're going to be able to elevate him from the practice squad, but you just have to get him through to the practice squad. That's why I'm telling you, I don't think you're going to see him in this preseason. I think the Eagles have a plan to keep Calcaterra and not have to sweat putting him through waivers for other teams.
It's possible, and you're right about the, you can make the move in week 2, week 3, week 4, whatever. And that's another position we just talked about with the heavy emphasis on defensive line, offensive line. Maybe they only keep 2 tight ends. At the start, at the initial 53, maybe they only keep Goddard and Stoll because they need an extra spot for defensive linemen or some other position. So you can throw that part of it into the mix as well. Yeah, there's they want to find spots for people like Marlon Tui Peloto and Patrick Johnson. And to me it's Conrad Johnson would probably be in the same category as Grant Calcaterra. Like, probably doesn't deserve to make this team from that meritocracy standpoint, but how bad do you want to keep him? Do you think you can get him through waivers? So that's the things you got to sort of balance.
All right. And I did want to bring this up because it's just ironic that we touched on it yesterday when we had Moshe on. The Athletic guys, Berman and Wolf, did 33 points that they saw yesterday. And it's a really good comprehensive look at the practice that the Browns and the Eagles had. And one of the things they noted was that, Jaquiski Tart got beat on one play. We're down our Jaquiski, the president of the Jaquiski Tart fan club, on our stream today. He hasn't popped up today, so shockingly so. And they went down the road of, is Jaquiski Tart this year's Patrick Robinson of the Super Bowl team 2017, who was just god awful in preseason, was getting burnt left and right, and was actually worried he was going to get cut from the team, and ends up once the season gets underway playing well and as big a contributor as he was in the playoffs to the Eagles actually winning the Super Bowl. Do we have a repeat situation here with Mr. Tart, Mr. McMullen?
I brought that up with Moshe yesterday. Patrick Robinson was great.
And the Athletic guys referenced it in their article today. I said, smart Eagle beat reporters on the same exact wavelength.
Yeah, but here's where I differ a little bit. Patrick Robinson changed positions, essentially. He went from outside corner where he's getting beaten like a drum, and then he moved him inside to slot. Yeah, where's Jaquiski changing position? He's getting beaten like a drum, and he can't change his position. So that part I differ on a little bit. But it was interesting because Gannon said he's got a role, but this 2 weeks is important for him. He completely contradicted himself. Usually Nick Sirianni will do that in the same press conference, but it'll be question 1 and question 8. He completely contradicted himself from one sentence to the next.
Within one question.
Yeah. With Jaquiski Tart. So, I mean, he isn't getting the reps to indicate that they think he's going to be a part of this. Now, why would you hide a veteran player? It doesn't make any sense to me. So, all I can do is report on what I've seen, and things don't look good for Jaquiski Tart right now.
Does not look good for Tart, and the Eagles do have some safety questions to answer. Second practice today, and we're going to get down right up here in just a second. Give us a Cleveland perspective. He'll be able to watch the practice today because he doesn't have to worry about Deshaun Watson being suspended, a change to the Deshaun Watson suspension. How do you think the safety reps are going to go today?
Well, Marcus and Anthony are out there. No, I think he's rotating pretty much Scott and Blankenship, and there was a little bit of Kayvon. But, boy, right now it looks like Josiah Scott. They picked up Ugi Amadi, as you mentioned, Jody, but I don't think he's a safety. I think, he's a slot corner special teams guy. I think they see him the same way Seattle saw him. So I don't think he's going to be involved in the mix. Maybe it's they want to figure out what they have in Reed Blankenship, if he can really be an NFL player, and then sort of if he can't, then default to Jaquaski Tart as sort of that fail safe, because he can at least play at a certain level. Maybe that's the plan. But they got issues. And I don't even talk about Kayvon Wallace anymore, because why talk about Kayvon Wallace?
All right. I will ask you this question here. We'll get a timeout in, and hopefully Daryl Ryder from 92.3, the fan in Cleveland, will join us. I'll ask you today. I'll ask you again on Monday. I'll probably ask you every other day for the next couple of weeks. And feel free to change your mind at any time. This is not a you must lock in the answer. This is a today answer. The undrafted free agent who has the best chance to make the Philadelphia Eagles right now is?
It's neck and neck between who we just talked about, Reed Blankenship, and Josh Jobe, the corner out of Alabama. Neck and neck, who has sort of risen above the Mac McCains and the Kerry Vincents and the Tay Gowans of the world. So I would say it is neck and neck for both those guys, and maybe they both make the team. How about that?
You predict, and I agree that there's going to be at least one. General managers always like to have that one guy that they can.
Look who I found.
Yeah, we found this
Jody.
guy.
Yeah.
Diamond Mind. We came up with this. Yeah. I'll give you your chance to change that one right up until cut day, Johnny Mac. Not going to tie you into that one at all. You can, because it's specifically at that position and that spot on the roster. Oh, one practice can make the difference.
Oh, yeah.
One good practice
one
can be
bad
the difference
preseason game. Because Josh Jobe was, he was probably in the lead, and he was taking second-team reps in practice, and it was clear that he had moved ahead of guys. But then he didn't play that well against the Jets, to be honest. So he can still come back. Yeah, but right now, I would say he and Reed are the leaders in the clubhouse. And Carson Strong, he got evicted.
Yeah, he's on the street, as they say. All right, Johnny Mac, Mac Birds 365, guys. Hoping to be able to punch up Daryl Ryder. He is the Browns reporter for 92.3 The Fan in Cleveland. Certainly he can give us all the background and details to the Deshaun Watson situation and suspension yesterday and how he handled it. The Browns are going to handle it going forward. We'll punch him up if he logs on in. You've got another 40 minutes to go on this Football Friday edition of Birds 365.